guys, welcome to Good Vibes Sunday. It's nice to be back.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Adam here.
All right, guys. So for today, we're going to be doing part 2 of our manifestation. So we're talking today. Actually, not last week, but the week before that, you guys all listened to Michael Bernard Beckwith, founder of Agape in the spiritual practice. And so today we're going to be really analyzing that whole recording, and we're going to really dissect and go a little deeper into it all. So let's get to it. So Adam and I want to start off by saying that spirituality is not a religion. So our religious beliefs stand alone. They stand separately from spirituality. Spirituality is a decision. It's a way of life. It's a practice and a decision to live a better life. So what we wanted to really emphasize was that we are not religiously preaching here. So let's start getting into Michael Bernard Beckwith and all of his practice and guidelines that he has for manifestation. So Michael begins talking about life visioning. When you're at the bottom, he says it's the best time to do this. So babe, do you want to tell us when was the best time for you to life vision?
Our best time was, I don't even know if I want to call it the best time, is when we started really reflecting on who we were or where we were at, was when I finished up baseball. That was a huge thing for us because we literally were at rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And then before that, why it put us at rock bottom was when your aunt passed away. And then that's really what kind of kickstarted everything, and especially kickstarted things with you.
Absolutely. So my aunt was like my mother figure. I've talked about her multiple times, and she passed away from cancer almost 2 years ago now. And, you know, what Adam was saying here is that, and what Michael Bernard is talking about, life visioning, meaning when is that time that you say enough is enough? You know, when are you tired of being sick and tired? When do you reach a point where you say, you know what, my life is not going in the direction that I really have wanted it to go. So it really has to happen. Something has to happen to you that's almost so dramatic, you know, and it snaps you into reality, and it really makes you reflect. So
life pushes until the vision pulls.
Well, we'll get to that. But so what we're saying here is that for me personally, I know Adam had his own journey, you know, his own awakening, I guess you can say. But for myself, it happened when Adam was still in baseball and my aunt had just passed away. And I took on the home that we currently live in, and it's our family home, my family home. I grew up here. And we started to renovate it. We started with her master bedroom, which was a time where I was emptying out all the boxes, you know, just all her belongings, really tough time. And then I started to work on Arian's new bedroom, which was my old bedroom. And I started to paint, and Adam was away in baseball, so I had a lot of time to myself, and I had time to heal. And it was a time where I always say, you know, the right thing happens at the right time. I started to read a book, or actually listen to a book. It's an Audible by Oprah Winfrey, this is really when it began for me with Oprah, my love relationship with her. But this book came to me super randomly. I don't even know how I came across it, but I came across it, and what it's called, and I'll link it below, and it's called What I Know For Sure. And this book is an easy read, very simple, but really direct and great to the point. And so it really started to highlight a lot of things that started me on my journey of this whole path that we're on. So that's one section of what Michael starts with. Let's move on to where he says, if you're in a situation that is pressing in upon you, ask what is trying to emerge in my life. Ask empowering questions, not just how to pay my bills. Ask, what's my purpose on this earth? So I always say is that when you're in pain, when you're in a situation, like he said, that's pressing in upon you, that's the time to realize what is this trying to teach me? You know, what is trying to emerge? And what's really trying to emerge is a better version of you. It's a vision. It's a purpose. It's something that's been placed there by God. And we're not talking about just God. We're talking about what you were born with. What, you know, not just those material things, but those things that really make you thrive, that make you want to...
What really makes you...
tick.
Yeah, what really makes you get up in the morning. Like, yeah. What makes you... What do you really want to do? Right. Obviously, you have your career, you have your everything, but really what helps pull you through? What is your...
Why are you here on this planet?
Exactly.
You know, and that's when we started...
Is it to help people? Is it to do charities, or what could it be there for you?
Sure. And for us, it was when we started Leone. I mean, Leone came from this whole entire journey of awakening and realizing that we had a purpose.
And it started a long time ago.
Well, it started a long time ago, but really took fruition after really hitting rock bottom.
Because we're like, we have something. I mean, we can really make this into something that could be really meaningful for people.
Absolutely. And that's when we started our charities, and that's where it all kind of came from. So, and that's our personal self. So let's move on to where Bernard talks about, Michael Beckwith, Bernard talks about the 4 stages of manifestation. So we talk about manifestation. This whole entire section here is about manifesting. And we say manifesting is where you create this life that you want to live, right? And that's what spirituality, that's unfolding your true self to really acquire the life you want to live. So let's talk about stage number 1. All right, so stage 1 is the victim space. And this is a space where I think a lot of people live. Michael Bernard Beckwith says that most people live in this space. And this space is where you feel like you're the victim of life. You feel like someone's done it to me. You know, it's their fault that I'm going through this, or this is just my karma, my bad luck, someone else's fault. So when you live in this space, there's really no way out, you know, unless you really wake up and realize that maybe you paved your own way. Maybe your decisions actually led you to where you are today. And once you start to take accountability, at that point, you can now grow and expand into more possibilities.
Well, I think that's where we started beforehand.
Absolutely.
You know, where we were
absolutely
prior, when I was in baseball, and where you were prior to your aunt passing away, was we were. It's like you never want to say you're in that space, but you were in that space.
Absolutely.
And I think that when there's a life situation that happens to you, you really have to look at the situation and say, how either I can stay in this space and feel sorry for myself, or what can I do to get out of this space, or at least not even get out of it, at least start moving through the space. And I think that's where I think with you is the book, and you're like, there's something more out there for me. And then with me was right when I got done with baseball, I'm like, I have so much more to give. I have so much more to give to people, and I have other passions.
Right. Well, the biggest thing is that when you start focusing on the negatives, okay, so you start focusing on the pain of, let's say with you with baseball, you start to blame others. Well, you know, I ended my career because they, you know, never called me up, or it was their fault. No,
or it was my injury.
Yeah, or exactly. You start blaming your injury, or is this, or is that. It was everybody else's fault. Once you start to take accountability and you say, you know what, maybe this wasn't meant to be, you know? Maybe God has a different plan for me. Maybe I should be doing something else. And that's where it leads you. And for myself, I could have, when my aunt passed away, I was pissed off, of course, you know? I was angry, I was sad. You start wondering, you start questioning, why does this happen? Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to her? But when you start living in that space, it really starts to eat you up. And you start to drown and go lower and lower into these. It's exhausting. And you start to really feel sorry for yourself, you know, because you're so consumed into why did this happen to me? Why did this happen?
And then more bad things start happening.
And then more start, right. So this is where Michael Bernard starts saying, he goes, you know, the universe or God or whatever it is you believe in will start to answer your questions in in a language that you only understand, which is in dreams, intuitions. But this is if you're asking empowering questions. So for example, when these situations start pressing in upon us, when we're at our bottom, we tend, naturally as humans, we tend to go there. You know, we tend to be negative. We tend to ask the negative questions. Why me? Who's to blame? What, you know, who's doing this to us? But if you start to ask empowering questions, you know, what is trying to emerge? Why did this happen? And what am I supposed to learn from this? How am I supposed to grow from this? So for me, it was when my aunt passed away, I said, okay, she passed. How can I take that whole devastation of her dying from cancer so quickly? You know, I mean, diagnosed, gone in 3 weeks. How can I take that same feeling and carry that into something positive? And that's when we started our charities, where we donate a portion of our commissions to a charity of our 4 charities, which is cancer, environment, etc. And we channeled that into something positive, which is going to last forever, because it's something that we're always going to be driven, or at least I will, by her death. Mm-hmm. Her death is the fire that is in me, and I could have used that for a negative thing. I could have sat here and dwelled over it and had it changed me into a bitter person, a person who's mad at life because she died of this, and now I'm so sad and I'm miserable. Or I could have used it towards something positive, right? So this is the biggest thing, is ask empowering questions. How can I use this bad situation to have a better life? Mm-hmm. How can I better someone else?
What are you using how can you push against it? How can you push against it to move forward?
Right.
So what is the next step? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do right now to make that moment better?
Right.
Or today better, or the next week better. And it's just whatever, like right when I got into baseball, I was like, I need a job. I need a job at that moment. So I went and got, started doing my real estate license, and we started moving forward. And now we're able to take that and push that into Leone and get everything going with ourselves and really start manifesting our true vision and passion.
Absolutely. So let's recap really quickly. So it's the question, right? The sincerity of the question. You have to ask this question and really be available to listen to the cues, to the intuition, to the signs, to the things that are the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe in is giving you to understand what your vision, what your purpose on this earth really is. Okay. So ask empowering questions. What if God is really on my side, or the universe is on my side, or my karma is on my side, or my best friend's really on my side, or people that I love are on my side? Ask these questions. What if this bad situation I'm going through right now is here to teach me something so that I can unfold into something more? Okay, so those are the questions. So once you start to move towards your purpose, opportunity starts to emerge, like little miracles start to happen. Momentum starts to happen. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm changed. Like, I'm a different person. When the hell did that happen? Like, I know that when I went through that whole situation with my aunt, it was a process, but I literally stopped and I was like, whoa, it was like a reset button. I look at myself now versus who I was, 5 years ago. I'm a whole new person. And I have a whole new outlook on life. And I know Adam is the same for you.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a lot about just being aware. Every day it's about being aware. And we have our good days, we have our bad days. Sure as I have my share of bad days, and where we're trying to pull through what we're going through. And it's not easy to start over and do something completely new with a completely new profession. Absolutely.
So that leads us to challenges. So we're not preaching that you live a challenge-free life. That's not the whole purpose of the human experience. Challenges are going to happen. What we're saying is that you take these challenges, like I took my aunt's death and Adam took his baseball career completely ending, and I'm sure there's going to be more challenges in our future, but we take, the whole idea here is that you take the challenges in your life and then you use those, you press upon those to really change you, to really teach you something and to grow from them, grow stronger and be better, Okay, so that's stage 1. So stage 1, you're in a resistance state. You're in a victim state. You're still asking disempowering questions. And when we say disempowering questions, life or God or whatever you believe in is answering those questions too, right? So you're asking the wrong questions. God's going to keep giving you those bad things. You ever notice that when you have a bad day and you wake up and you're like, oh, you have something happen to you, and then it's a chain reaction that everything after that therefore starts to go wrong? It's the same thing. You start answering, or God or life or whatever you believe in is answering those wrong questions that you are asking. So that's stage 1. That's the victim stage. Once you get out of this victim stage, you move on to the stage 2. Once you accept, look, not everything is against me. All these problems and everything that happens, because life happens. Problems, challenges are there to prepare us, to teach us something. So once you can accept that and stop blaming anybody, you can move on to stage 2. So we say stage 2 is manifest level, right? So manifesting. you start to pray or meditate, you start to ask empowering questions. Michael Bernard says that prayer and meditation tune us into hearing the cues, that when we can move into that direction of our vision. Many people, even if their prayers were to be answered, they wouldn't even know it because they aren't vibrationally ready for it. And so he also talks about resistance, giving up resistance to circumstances, right? Mm-hmm. So this is technically the transition between stage 1 and stage 2 is where you're in a resistant state. The moment you surrender and you surrender to circumstances. So for example, Adam and I went through what we went through, right? So the death and the ending of his career. So with that came a lot of stuff. We went through a really tough time. We had family members donating food to us. We went through financial hardship. And so once we a lot of stuff really started to happen to us that was very hard for us. It was painful. And once we stopped resisting it, so once we stopped trying to manipulate it or stress about it or feed into it, once we finally said, you know what?
Just accepted it.
We're here.
Yeah. It was exhausting every day to try to figure something out. Like, why are we here? What can we do right now to get better? And it was just...
And we just started to ask for help.
We were at each ot's throats, too, just every day.
Yeah, we started to finally just ask for help, ask family members for help. We started to ask God for help or, just manifesting help and saying, you know what, we're available, we're surrendered. We are not here to fight or resist this situation. What is this here to teach us? What are we learning here,
We were working hard enough. We knew we were working hard enough at that time, so it's like, it's going to get better. We'll be okay.
Yep.
We just got to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to move through each day. And as long as we're doing something every day, we're going to move forward. And I think that was the biggest moment of accepting. It's like, we can't make anything go faster. We can't hope for somebody just to come out of the sky and give us something. Like, we are doing everything in our power, literally everything in our power, with money aside, where we don't have any money. Like, what else can we do? Well, if that takes us doing something with our hands or anything, what it was, all we had was time. That's the only, I don't know, how would you want to call time to us? Time was the only thing that we could use for our benefit.
Absolutely. Well, we had time to leverage, so we started to build our business. It was really what happened at that point. So really what I want to start also getting into is manifestation. Right back to that is where Michael Bernard says the let go. He talks about this with Oprah, and what Oprah said, she goes, one day I manifested tomato soup. She was like, I was out in my garden and my neighbor came with tomato soup. And I had thought about it, I was craving it, but I was in a space where if I didn't get it, I'd be okay with it. So the reason I'm talking about this is because so much of us, like we were talking about when we were in this tough situation of having no money, having, just being in a financial hardship.
We wanted.
I'm very OCD,
yeah.
And I wanted so many things to go the right way. And I had such a vision for myself, right? We both had this life that we had in our mind that we were wanting to live. And everything at that moment had changed. That plan we had, out the window. I mean, everything was not happening the way it was supposed to happen. But that's okay, because once we realized that, we're available, we're okay with this, we're surrendering to the situation, and that we wanted to be better. We knew we wanted that. But the moment that we started to let go of the force of the resistance,
trying to maintain something that we couldn't maintain.
Right. Once we did that, then we got into a space where you're almost just like, you know what, if it happens, it happens. And it did, and it starts to happen slowly, that everything started to become better. Everything we wanted started to happen just because we weren't obsessing over it.
Doing the little things every day.
Yeah, we just started working towards it, but we didn't sit there and hunker over it. We weren't obsessing over it. We weren't trying to force these things to happen, living beyond our means, buying things that we were, you know what I mean? Like, we were just allowing it to happen naturally and not obsessing over it. So that's one thing. So he talks about like this obsession is where you say, when you obsess over something that you can't have. So he says, he puts it in terms where he says, I don't have it. which means, or no, I want it, which translates to the universe or God that I don't have it, so then you can't get it.
Well, he also mentions it's like the coin. You put the coin in the well. You know,
right.
I want this, and then he calls it
but
the
then
let
you
go.
let go, right?
He's like, I want, you know.
You make a wish. You throw the coin in the.
And you're like, well, let's see what happens, and then it's gone.
And then you forget about it.
And then it appears.
Right. I had this technique. It's really funny because we just had Lyft, the owner of Lyft. Adam and I talked about Lyft, this coffee shop, way before we even met Gio, the owner of Lyft. And it might be a small little, goal, but we had it. We said we want to be incorporated somehow, some way. We don't know how it's going to unfold, but we really wanted to know this guy and be a part of this coffee shop. And I remember putting a note in a book. I put a note in a book, and I wrote down literally that I wanted us to have this correlation with him. And I put it in a book, and I forgot about it. I literally put this note in a book, and I forgot about it. It's crazy because we just had him on our Good Vibe Sunday a few weeks ago.
And part of our giveaway.
And we've sat down with this guy. And I actually the other day was looking through my books, so I was clearing out all my stuff with this whole new year coming up here. And I found the note. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what we've been talking about, where you do these practices and things just start to happen. Little miracles. You don't know how they got there, but they start to happen. And this is all part of, just the whole unfolding. But let's talk about the solution to stage 1 really quick. So he says every victim has a victim story, right? So you're a victim of yourself. You ask those disempowering questions, and you give a list of complaints about what's wrong and who did it. Okay, so what's the solution? There comes a point where you have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. So you're so tired of just being this victim of yourself. And you have to come to a point, something has to happen in your life where you realize, you know what? Maybe I paved my own way. Maybe it's time to make a change. So once you're in that space, we talk about, or Bernard talks about the dark night, right? The dark night of the dark soul. So this is where you're basically in limbo. The dark night of the soul is a transitional space. You're in limbo between stage 1 and stage 2. And so what this means is, okay, I'm going to put this in terms that you all can understand, because this one's kind of tricky. I had to actually explain this one to Adam earlier here. But what this means is, okay, you're not a victim anymore. You're not in stage 1 anymore. You're not a victim anymore of yourself. You're not blaming anybody. You accept that you pave your own way, that your decisions are pressing up upon you because you led yourself there, okay? It's no one's fault, okay, but yours. You live your own life, okay? So you learn from those mistakes. You learn from all that. That's stage 1, right? So you're not quite there anymore. You've accepted that. But then you're not in stage 2 yet, which is a manifestation stage where you're literally in prayer, you're in meditation, you're doing all these things to manifest a vision, right? A purpose, to walking in that purpose. You're not there yet because you don't know your purpose, so it's dark. So he calls it the dark night of the soul. You're in limbo, and it's a very painful stage. You're in a place where you're accepting that you're not the victim, but you're also not living your vision and your purpose, and everything's not going great yet, so it's really painful. And everything's still pressing upon, and now you're like, well, I'm not a victim anymore, so what's going on? I know that this is it. I'm doing all the right things. What's happening? And me and Adam were in this situation, and I feel like we're in the position right now where we're getting ourselves out, but where you start to feel like, okay, I'm doing all these right things, but why isn't anything getting better? And what that is that he says, what quality would you, okay, so this is good, guys. So he says the way to get out of this, this space of being in a limbo, he says, if this particular situation, so these problems that you're feeling, okay, all of these obstacles, if these were all to last forever, what quality would you need to have? If this was to last forever, what quality would you need to have to live through this? So for example, for Adam and I, poverty, right? So we were in a place where it was rough, right, financially. So if Adam and I were in a place where financially it was tough for us, and if that was to last forever, if we were to accept and say, okay, this situation is going to last us forever, well, what quality would we need? Well, we would need some strength. We would need some peace, some courage, some bravery, right? So what happens is when you start to focus on these qualities, okay, instead of hunkering in on the pain of it all, okay, you start to focus on the positives, on these positive qualities, these qualities that are resilience, that are strength, all these things.
Qualities that give you the strength to really help accept the situation. I think the biggest thing is now what everything says, accept your present situation.
Absolutely.
And once you accept that present situation.
And when you focus on it.
And when you focus, right? Then everything just kind of goes away.
Right. So he's saying that you start to focus on these qualities. What happens is everything is speeded up. Okay, so everything speeds up, it's sped up, and you start to move through everything quickly. Quickly. You start to move through everything a lot quicker because you're not resisting anymore, right? So everything
you're focusing on the positives.
Right. So that's limbo.
Yeah.
That's the dark night of the soul. So then
and I think that's such an intricate part of anybody is that, you visualize so many things. I mean, I think in baseball, I bring up when I was down in Mexico.
Right, absolutely.
When I was down in Mexico, I was like, why am I here? Mm-hmm. Like, why? How did my career get all the way down to here?
Well, no, don't say that. Explain to them what that means because people think, well, Mexico. What do you mean by that? I mean, explain to them.
I played professional. I mean, not professional. I played in America. I mean, I played in the United States.
Well, you're in an MLB, which everything is
affiliate. I was in affiliated ball. Let's put it that way.
Right. So
I was in affiliated ball.
Everything was great, right?
Everything was great. I was moving up, got all the AAA, and then I got my injury, and some things started happening. And what ended up happening was I one part of my career, and I ended up down in Mexico.
But when you were in Mexico, why was it so bad? Because you're saying Mexico like it was so bad. But
because I was in an affiliated ball, and it was an extra step that I would have to take. I would have to get myself back in affiliated ball, mm-hmm. and then once from affiliated ball, then I can get to the big leagues. You don't go from Mexico to the big leagues a whole lot.
No, I know, but what I'm asking so that they really understand what is so bad about Mexico. Well, your living situations were good. You were living in a 1-bedroom apartment where you had barely any. I mean, you were putting aluminum foil on windows.
Yeah.
And you were, it was just not very good.
I wasn't speak the language,
Exactly. You were away from us for 6 months.
I didn't have cell phone. I had a cell phone, but it was, it was really hard for me to get a hold of you.
It was just a different life that you weren't used to anymore, and it was a tough one out there.
It was totally different. It was a change. And what had ended up happening was I would call my agent like not every day, but every week. I'd be like, what's going on? I'm doing so well down here. I need to get out of here. And then after a while, like nothing was happening. I was like in this such this wanting state for something to happen. And eventually I said, I just need to let go. Like it was exhausting for me. And I wasn't happy like I wanted to be playing baseball. I was playing my dream. I was playing baseball and still getting paid well and all that. And eventually what ended up happening was I just accepted. I was like, no, this is what it is. I'm going to accept it. And from that moment forward, I had an amazing rest of the season. I had a lot of fun, and it was one of my most fun seasons of baseball I've ever had. With the playoffs, I mean, it was a great experience.
Yeah,
it was one of my best experiences I've ever had.
We talk about like owning your feelings. So during that time, I remember you were feeling sorry for yourself mm-hmm. a lot, and which weighed on me because I was in the same boat as you. I was feeling sorry for myself because I'm like, he's been gone for 6 months. This is miserable. I miss my husband. Like I was alone with Arian, spending holidays by ourselves. It was tough times. But once we started to own our feelings and stop blaming everybody else or blaming the situation or blaming life because we were blaming MLB or we were blaming other people.
I remember it was such a transition for me.
Yeah, but it was. And once we started to realize, you know what, I own my feelings. These are my feelings. I own them. I solely own them. Nobody else is causing me to feel this way. And I only have the power to change these mm-hmm. feelings around. At that moment, that sole decision is what changes everything. Mm-hmm. That one decision.
And another book that really helped me was Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now.
Yeah.
I just started living in the present moment.
Moment.
Anything happens today will help maybe better my future for tomorrow.
All right, guys. So that was basically covering the dark night, which is limbo between stage 1 and stage 2. And for the remainder of this recording, Adam is actually taken off. He had to take our little one somewhere. So I'm going to continue on explaining the rest of these stages that Michael Bernard Beckwith talked about in his interview with Oprah. So for stage 2, it's a manifestation stage. So you start to visualize the life you want to live. So we're past now that victim space of stage 1, and we're past the dark night, which is the limbo stage in between part 1 and part 2. So stage 1 is where you're actually manifesting. So you start to talk about your vision. You start to become your vision. Now, when we say you talk about your vision, you don't talk to everybody because not everybody is trustworthy, but you talk to your friends, you talk to your close loved ones or family members, and you start to talk about this vision that you have for yourself, this purpose, and then you start to talk from it. So you start becoming this vision. You know, we always say is that you can't have what you're not willing to become, right? So vibrationally, if you're not prepared or you haven't become this person that is capable of having all those things that you want for yourself, this vision or this life that you want to live, if you haven't become that person, then you can't have it. You know, you can manipulate things and get things temporarily, but to really, really keep it, to really have it, you have to become it. So Michael Bernard talks about this, becoming it, tuning into it, asking what if questions. So asking those powerful, empowering questions, staying away from the negative questions, the ones that you don't want answered. You know, you don't want to ask, why me? Why did this happen? You know, then you're going to get more of those answers. You're going to get the answers of, well, this happened to you because of this, reason. Or if you start to asking those empowering questions, then those get answered as well. So Michael talks about pain pushes until the vision pulls. So this is a good one. Oh gosh, Adam and I really thrive on this one because he talks about pain pushes until the vision pulls. So what does this mean? Pain pushes, it pushes you. So pain, that struggle, the hardships, those challenges, they push you and they keep pushing harder and harder and they keep pushing you into having a vision that is bigger than the pain. So any vision, any potential is always bigger than the pain. Your potential is bigger than the pain, bigger than any problem that you don't have to ever feed into. Potential is not... It's not the pain. Potential, if you start to begin to have a vision of the possibility, you start to get pulled by it. If you start to embrace it, you wake up and say, wow, today I'm going to walk into the direction of my vision. Today I'm going to walk into the direction of my purpose, into possibility. Then you're not pushed as much. Then you're facing a lot less pain. The 2x4 doesn't have to hit you in the head as hard anymore, So you're now you're being pulled versus always being resistant and being pushed, right? And so he talks about this. He says, then when you're not pushed as much, then there's less pain. It doesn't mean that there's no challenges, and we've talked about this before. It doesn't mean that we're striving to live a challenge-free life. That's not the purpose of our human experience. What he says is just means that it activates more potential than it hinders you. So you allow these challenges to actually activate potential than actually hindering you. So this means that when you are in a space where you're constantly resisting, your life is going to keep bringing up challenges. So it's going to be more painful. It's always like with Aaron. I'll put it in these terms so you guys can understand. With Aaron sometimes, and if you're a parent, you know this very all too well, is that you tell him, just eat your vegetables. And he's crying, and I'm telling him, okay, you're going to timeout, or you're going to be punished, you're losing this. And he's like, well, I don't want to eat my vegetables. I don't want to do it. And you're just like, just do it. The moment that Aaron just stops resisting, there's less punishment. The moment he stops resisting, there's less punishment that keeps, acquiring every time he resists more and more and more. So that's just the same thing as life. If you're supposed to be doing something that's taking you into this vision, And that everybody has one. Everybody has a purpose on this earth. I mean, that's not a question, it's a statement. So whether you understand that or not, that's on you. If you're denying it or you're oblivious to it, then that's on you. And you're going to keep facing these challenges that are trying to push you into realizing that there is potential in you, that there is a purpose in life for you, that we're all born with this purpose. So what I'm saying is that until you realize that there's that purpose, like Aaron knows that he has to eat his vegetables, that life is going to keep pushing us. And if we keep resisting, there's going to be like Aaron resists eating the broccoli. There's going to be more punishment, and it's going to just be painful and excruciating, and it's exhausting. But the moment that he just says, you know what, I surrender, I give up. I am not give up on life, but I give up on resisting. I'm just going to trust the process, and I'm going to allow this to just unfold, just to happen. I'm just going to allow it to just be. Then at that point, there's no more resistance. And then now you're being pulled, now you're being pulled by possibility. Now you're being pulled by this vision, by your purpose, and everything becomes so much easier, guys. It's easier at that point. Michael talks about vibration. So he says energy frequencies to life. Your entire goal is to line up with a frequency that will help you grow, into this person that you are always unfolding into, right? Into this vision, into this purpose that you have. He says, we are vibrational beings. What you want, it starts first on a vibratory level, and then it shows up and it manifests in your life. So this is how we say is that you cannot become what, you cannot have what you're not willing to become vibrationally. You don't attract things. What you become or think about shows up in your life. So it's kind of like the law of attraction. Sure, you attract it in a way, but really if you're not becoming it, then you're not really radiating it, right? So if you're having a day that you just wake up and you're just in this glorious friggin' mood and you're just so happy and so excited, then it's contagious. So everything starts to go well in your life. Your vibrations are high, you're vibrationally good, and you start to attract that. Things start to just happen, and people start to feed off of that. But if it's the opposite is true, if you're feeling negative, if everything starts to happen in a chain reaction, you spill your coffee, and then that causes you to get a ticket because you're speeding to work, now you're late. And so that's just the way it is. It just happens that way, and it's all done by energy, guys. So he says, you cannot become what you're not willing to become. You cannot have, what you're not willing to become vibrationally. If you do get it, you'll lose it. So what he means by this is, for example, he gives a really good example of like a lottery. So he says, you can manipulate things to get things, but if you're not vibrationally ready for it, if you're not prepared, and I always say this is like luck. I don't believe in luck. I believe that luck means that you are prepared for something that happens at the perfect time. So, for example, if you win the lottery and you aren't prepared mentally or, you're educationally or whatever it is, that you're not knowledgeable of where to invest that money, how to make that money grow, and you go and you splurge and you spend it all, then you're going to lose it. It's like when you've wanted it for so long, but then you're not prepared for it because you don't know what to do with that money. You don't know how to make it grow. So then you lose it all. So it's the same thing, same theory with life. You have to be vibrationally aligned. You have to be prepared for these things, and you have to become it so that it shows up in your life and you can keep it. Now, when we talk about manifestation, which is stage 2, we're not talking about just material things, guys. Material things are signposts, they're blessings, they're great things to want to acquire, and they're part of it, but they're not everything. We talk about, or actually Michael Bernard talks about, is that there's visualization versus visualizing. Or visioning, it's visioning versus visualization. So visualization means manifestor level. So the life you want to live. So for example, you want to go to a vacation on the beach, or you want a house, or you want a car. You manifest these things and they're all great. But then there's visioning. Visioning is something put there by God. There's something that you have a purpose that you were born with. And that comes through meditation, or it comes through, for some people, praying, or it comes through, writing your goals down in the morning, whatever it is that you do and that you can do to really tune yourself in with that you want that to come forward, that place inside of you that says, this is my purpose. This is who I'm meant to be. This is what makes me thrive every day. And it's like, and those things are not societal. So society can't put a pin on those things. Your parents wanted you to be a doctor, a lawyer, but no, you were born to be something else. That's what I'm talking about right there, is that you were born to do something that is unique to you, that has no words, can't really explain this. It's something inside of yourself. And that's why I say that was placed there by God, or whatever it is you believe in. It was placed there. You know what I'm talking about. And you feel it inside, and that is visioning. So when we talk about material things, those things are great, but you limit your potential if you focus on only those things. So stage 3, guys, we're coming on our end here. So stage 3 is channeling, where you realize that you're a place in which the infinite channels through. So meaning that now at this point, you're available, you've surrendered, you've done all of stage 2, you've done all of the manifesting, the meditations, everything, attracting everything to your life. And at this point, something takes you over, and at that point, something is God. And whether it's God, and like I said, whatever it is you believe in, that thing that inside, that passion, that love, that thrive of living, whatever it is that makes you the happiest, that's on 100% at this point. Whatever that is, it's like always going at this point, and things are just easier. Life is clear. Life makes more sense. This is stage 3. You're in the zone. We've talked about flow before. Adam actually had a whole Good Vibes Sunday on this, where he talks about how flow helped him in baseball. And, he used to have glimpses of it. But to live in this state of stage 3 all the time, to be always in flow and in the zone and just in this good place, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, that's where we all want to live. And then he talks about stage 4. That's when you're one with God. You're connected. You're like, oh, like all the time. You know what I mean? Like your perfection, to the max. And I feel like that place, Oprah even says in the recording, she goes, who can live in that all the time? That's like something out of this world. But he says, and his response to it is that you get higher and higher levels of it. So the more you practice this life, you start to become in tune with it higher and higher. So that is all the stages. And Adam and I, it's funny because we talk about this stuff daily. And we practice this stuff daily, and we go about this daily, but, to actually execute it and actually live by this is not easy. We're not by any means in stage 3 or stage 4. I feel like we're still kind of in the dark night, to be honest, we're still like, God, we're doing everything right. We're waiting around to, see what happens, but what the biggest thing is, and Adam talked about this a lot, is awareness. The more aware you become of doing these things, of practicing this life that you want to live, and being aware of it and knowing, then you're living in choice. You're not living in reaction. Reaction is when you don't know better, all you do is react. Like dogs, they'll do something wrong, but they don't know they're doing it wrong because they're just reacting, But when you know better, when you're aware, at that point you have the option to choose. And choosing the right thing or choosing the right way of life is yours. And you can listen to this and say she's crazy and they're on cuckoo and they're drinking some juice over there that is wacko, and that's fine. That's your choice. But Adam and I had a choice too, and we chose to do this and to really study this and learn it and have this be a way of life. And with this goes working out, obviously eating healthy, just having, and guys, I'm going to get to a point where all this is leading somewhere. Okay. So these good vibes, you guys are wondering, she's an interior designer. They build homes and stuff. What is this all leading to? So this is all going to lead you all to know and really build homes that not only, Adam and I have this motto or this saying that we say for our company is home is the root of the soul. What that means is that your home is physically just a building. It's just a structure, right? It's wood, it's plywood, it's plaster, it's tile, it's all these things. But what really makes a home is you. It's you. It's the words that you say. It's the way you treat each other as a family. It's, I always say that the words you say sit on your furniture. They sit on your walls. That, if you're mistreating each other, that sits in your house and it affects everybody. You want to create a home that is a happy, fulfilling, thriving home. And it all starts with you. And it starts with this stuff, So that's where we get with all this, and we hope that you all enjoyed this. I know this is a longer Good Vibes Sunday than we've ever really had. I mean, going on 45 minutes here of talking. I hope you all get a lot from this and can kind of relate, and really, I hope we translated this. If you haven't already watched Michael Bernard's conversation that we referred to today, please take time and go back to our last week's Good Vibes Sunday and listen in and tell us what you guys think. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.